beatniks going across the country in a Pullman sleeper for one more round with the boys and girls before retirement to his study, bottle, and typewriter. And then, in 1969, of a massive abdominal hemorrhage brought on by drink, death. He was 47. Jack Kerouac was the American hero in looks and deeds who dared to have a series of long, tender, nervous breakdowns in the prose of his dozen or so books. His work, at its best, brought something of the luminous pleasures of the French Impressionists into American writing, and something, too, of the brooding syntactic circuitry of Proust. Above all, he was a tender writer. It would be hard to find a mean-spirited word about anybody in all his writing. Aram Saroyan. Big Sur. 1. The church is blowing a sad, wind-blown Kathleen on the bells in the Skid Row slums as I wake up all woebegone and goopy, groaning from another drinking bout and groaning most of all because I'd ruined my secret return to San Francisco by getting silly drunk while hiding in the alleys with bums and then marching forth into North Beach to see everybody, although Lorenz Monsanto and I'd exchanged huge letters outlining how I would sneak in quietly, call him on the phone using a code name like Adam Yulch or Lalage Pulvertaft, also writers, and then he would secretly drive me to his cabin in the Big Sur woods, where I would be alone and undisturbed for 6 weeks, just chopping wood, drawing water, writing, sleeping, hiking, etc., etc. But instead, I've bounced drunk into his City Lights bookshop at the height of Saturday night business. Everyone recognized me, even though I was wearing my disguise-like fisherman's hat and fisherman coat and pants waterproof, and Tall ends up a roaring drunk in all the famous bars. The bloody king of the beatniks is back in town, buying drinks for everyone. 2 days of that, including Sunday, the day Lorenzo was supposed to pick me up at my secret Skid Row hotel, the Mars on 4th and Howard. But when he calls for me, there's no answer. He has the clerk open the door, and what does he see but me, out on the floor among bottles? Ben Fagan stretched out partly beneath the bed, and Robert Browning, the beatnik painter, out on the bed, snoring. So, says to himself, I'll pick him up next weekend. I guess he wants to drink for a week in the city, like he always does, I guess. So off he drives to his Big Sur cabin without me, thinking he's doing the right thing. But my God, when I wake up and Ben and Browning are gone, they've somehow dumped me on the bed, and I hear, I'll take you home again, Kathleen, being bell roped so sad in the fog winds out there that blow across the rooftops of eerie old hangover Frisco. Wow, I've hit the end of the trail and can't even drag my body anymore, even to a refuge in the woods, let alone stay upright in the city a minute. It's the first trip I've taken away from home, my mother's house, since the publication of Road, the book that made me famous. And in fact, so much so, I've been driven mad for 3 years by endless telegrams, phone calls, requests, mail, visitors, reporters, snoopers, a big voice saying in my basement window as I prepare to write a story, "Are you busy?" Or the time the reporter ran upstairs to my bedroom as I sat there in my pajamas trying to write down a dream. Teenagers jumping the 6-foot fence I'd built around my yard for privacy. Parties with bottles yelling at my study window, "Come on out and get drunk. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy." A woman coming to my door and saying, "I'm not going to ask you if you're Jack Douloise because I know he wears a beard. Can you tell me where I can find him? I want a real beatnik at my annual shindig party. Drunken visitors puking in my study, stealing books and even pencils. Uninvited acquaintances staying for days because of the clean beds and good food my mother provided. Me, drunk, practically all the time, to put on a jovial cap to keep up with all this. But finally realizing I was surrounded and outnumbered and had to get away to solitude again or die. So, Lorenzo Santo wrote and said, "Come to my cabin. No one will know," etc. So I'd sneaked into San